What happened to me once I was picked up, once they placed me into the car, my kids were here also, and they saw the whole thing, or most of it, what they could from the windows here. And I know that they were quite terrified. They also came and they questioned my son. I mean, he's 16 years old, but I don't know, as far as I was concerned, they had no reason to talk to him. And tell them that their dad should have complied and stuff like that. You know, my son is my son, and he's been well enough informed to know that you have the right to ask questions and to find out that they have a lawful purpose to be there. These police, especially the RCMP, they're acting like rogue agents, and they don't really have the authority that they do, and or that they claim that they do. So in the car, my handcuffs are killing me, and I asked them several times to release the handcuffs. And this is just, you know, while I'm sitting there before we leave, and he refused to do that. And he said, maybe next time you'll learn. And I'm telling him, you know, like this, it's way too tight. I mean, it's you know, I'm not crying because I'm not going to, but it's way too tight. And he's like, that's tough. Why should I, you know, do anything for you? I mean, they're pissed off that I threw him to the ground, right? And so now they're going to torture me, and I strongly feel that was a form of torture, and designed to what? Teach me a lesson, to not ask questions, not to question authority. That's not going to happen. That infuriated me. I further asked him, are you satisfied now that I belong there? And he says, yes, but you're still going to jail. We are still going to charge you. So I said nothing for the rest of the way to the jailhouse, except for, you really need to undo these handcuffs. Like several times, the pain just got unbearable. And that didn't happen. We get into the Langley head office, police station, and they drive into the dungeon there, and so he comes back, and he comes back with his sergeant, Sergeant Coombs, and Sergeant Coombs opens the back door, and he's talking to me, and he's talking to me as though I'm a child who's misbehaving, and I'm the one who has a problem. And so I said, listen, before I talk to you, you need to release this stuff, because I'm in a lot of pain here. And he says, I'm not going to do that. Maybe you'll listen to me better if you're in pain. He sat there, he crouched on the ground, and he's talking to me through the door. So I let him finish, and then I went back and I rebutted several of the points. Unfortunately, I can't remember everything that was discussed there. But I had asked him at one point, while we were still in the back seat, while I was still in the back seat of the car, and he was talking to me there, I asked him, so what you're telling me is that because Canada doesn't really have legitimate authority over me, it's a de facto authority, because I remember I had that discussion with him, it's a de facto authority, and you're a de facto authority, I have to submit to you, otherwise you guys are going to use force against me. Is that what you're telling me? And he looked at me and said, yes. That unequivocally, just yes. And I said, well, that's very interesting. To me, that's tyranny. And that's not acceptable. And that needs to be resisted. And he didn't really say anything to that. And we had another little discussion, which I don't recall right off the top of my head. And so then they pulled me out of the vehicle, and then they brought me to the counter where they were going to process me, take all my goods out for me. And we had another discussion there. And I was explaining to him what they wanted me to do was understand the charges. And, you know, I didn't just say that I don't understand the charges, which I did say. But I have a reason for not understanding the charges. So they asked me, why don't you understand the charges? And I said, well, here it is. The reason I don't understand the charges is because you have a de facto authority, which means it's usurped, it's not legitimate. We don't consent to it. You need my consent if you're a de facto authority. And they argued, no, we don't. I can show you in their own statutes where they do need my consent. They need all of our consent. So we get into that discussion, and so they're a de facto authority. I don't accept the de facto authority. Not only that, they are committing fraud. They're committing fraud against the people of Canada, and they're committing fraud against me. I explained to them that the fraud that they're committing against me is that they're forcing me to be somebody that I'm not. I am telling them that they created a legal name. My parents gave me a name, and they changed the name to all capital letters. Not only that, they take the first name, your name that your mother and father gave you, any middle names that you have, and your last name, and they put it all together and make one name. I explained that to them. And I said what they do then is they put it in all capital letters, which means that it's now property. And they changed the status of that name. And then they tried to tell me that I was now that name. That was a government issued name, and I was under obligation to accept it. And so they've created a false name, and now they've pinned it on me, and I don't accept it. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want the benefits. I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a social insurance number. I don't have anything. They've all been rescinded. I don't have a bank account. There is nothing. There is no ID in my possession that makes me their property. So when I explained that to them, they were like, okay. And so then, now here's what I want you to do. I would like it if you would investigate that. I will give you much more research that I've got to prove that what I'm alleging is factual. And they said, no, we won't do that. All right. So then what you're telling me then is that everything that you guys do, you're doing without lawful authority. And it is actually criminal, and I have to accept it. Otherwise, you are going to use force, threat, coercion, and intimidation to gain my compliance. Is that what you're telling me? And he said, yes, that is the way that we operate around here, and you better get used to it. Now, I don't know if he was telling me that because he felt that he was just being cocky, and but he seemed reasonable. The sergeant seemed reasonable, and I think he knows that his authority is illegitimate, but he doesn't care. And of course he won't investigate it, and he won't investigate the fraud that I'm trying to reveal to him. There are many frauds. That was just the one specific one that we were dealing with here. Why I don't carry government issued ID. That is not me. It is not my ID. It's not even spelled properly. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with that fraud. And by forcing me to accept it, you're complicit in the fraud. You're forcing me to engage in fraud, and I won't be forced to do that. And so, I went several times at them with this kind of logic and thinking and asking, making damn sure that I asked them, that they understood what I was saying, and every time they said yes, except for the young guy that attacked me, the first cop that showed up. He didn't understand. He said that was the first time he ever heard of anything like that. And he didn't know where I was coming from. And it didn't matter to him. I was to be arrested, and that's all there was to it. And they were going to process me. It didn't matter that I had, the force of law behind me. So they said some other revealing things, and I really wish I could recall them all at this time. But basically what I got out of them is that they know that they're a de facto authority. They know that there's a fraud going on. They refuse to investigate it. They know that they've sworn an oath to the Crown and not to the government or the people of Canada. And they feel that they have sworn an oath to uphold the law, and that somehow doing what they did was upholding the law. And some fashion. So basically, that was it. And then they processed me, but they didn't take my fingerprints. You know, they took my picture and stuff like that, and they tried to create joinder, and I refused that they created joinder. And what they said to me at that time was, if you do not cooperate with us in every way, in everything, we're going to hold you till your court date. And I said, okay, well, let's go through this again. So you're committing a fraud on me. You're telling me that I have to comply with committing a fraud, accepting a name that's not mine, and being somebody that's not me. And if I don't, you're going to remove me from my peace. Is that what you're telling me? And he said, yes. I said, all right. So, fine. So they're asking me all kinds of questions. I'm not telling them. They're getting ready to lock me up, and you know, obviously they're going to carry out their threat. I've been there before, actually, for the very same thing, except they didn't tell me the same things that they did last time. I had some business cards in my jean jacket pocket, and they pulled them out, and they saw my name, Ray, with my family name there, and I explained to them, this is how I want to see my name put on all these documents. Ray, last name, or family name. And they wouldn't do it that way. And I said, well, if what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, then why not do it that way? If there's no difference, why not do it that way? Because this is the way we do it. So for them, it was a matter of form and doing it that way. So so we get down to the end there. They did some phone calls. Now they got my name. They did some phone calls. They're satisfied that I am the legal person, and so they filled out the paperwork. And now they want me to understand the charges again, and they want me to sign this promise to appear. And I said, well, okay, let me see this promise to appear. You know that I'm not going to understand it, and you know the reasons why. So they let it go, but they wanted me to sign this promise to appear. So I look at the promise to appear, and it's got the wrong name on it. And I said, I cannot sign this promise to appear. And they threatened me with keeping me until July 28th, which was the court date for the arraignment. And I had to appear on July the 27th to have my fingerprints done. Why they didn't do it there, I don't know. Now they want me to sign this thing, and I said I can't sign it, and here's the reason why. Because you have mistakes on it. You have the wrong name up there. It's spelled the wrong way. It's in all capital letters. It's the wrong status. I'm a sovereign man. We had that discussion while we were out here. So now they're getting ready to haul me into the back there. And I said, all right, well, here's what I'll do. Actually, the guy goes and he calls a supervisor or somebody else. I think it was somebody in the legal department, and he says, well, he's not going to sign it. And I wouldn't sign for the stuff that they took out of my pockets, like a release to get the stuff back. I wouldn't sign that either. Because what I told them was, as far as I know, to me, that's a contract accepting that what you did was right, and I'm not going to accept it. So they gave me back my property, but they weren't going to let me go free unless I signed the promise to appear. So what I did is I made it very clear that they were threatening me with detaining me before I signed anything, right? So I said, well, here's what I'll do then. I will qualify my signature. Is that all right with you? And they said, that's fine. So I put under threat and duress, all rights reserved, and then I signed my name, and then they let me go. So now I have a promise to appear, which is obtained under threat and duress. So in reality, I do not have to appear. What we're going to do from here, I still have to decide.